Set your phasers to stun, sharpen your replica swords, and let the flame wars begin. Hey everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome to Watch Mojo. Today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 Geek Rivalries.
Maybe smash a few things along the way.
I think it's gratuitous, but whatever.
That means we're outlining the most contentious competitions in the nerd world. No, we're not talking about like Batman versus the Joker or Superman versus Lex Luthor. It's the real world arguments between properties that you'll go to bat for. I said bad. Anyway, you'll see what I mean. Let's get to the list. Number 10, Pokémon versus Digimon.
Shocking, isn't it?
Yes, we know Pokémon was created first, but it can't be denied that Digimon managed to find success in its own right. Both Japanese media franchises are based on powerful creatures that can evolve or digivolve.
Agumon! Digivolve to...
They can also live alongside humans and can fight. While the similarities are obvious, fans of both franchises continue to argue the superior merits of their favorite universe, be it the impact of its legacy on pop culture, how realistic the characters are, and/or the themes and stories they cover.
For the horrible things you have done, now you must pay the ultimate price!
Though the 2010s has seen a resurgence in Pokemon's popularity thanks to Pokemon Go and the live-action film, 2019 news that a special new Digimon anime movie was in development proves that the rivalry remains strong.
Agumon. 俺たちはずっと一緒だ.
Number 9, Mario vs. Sonic the Hedgehog.
You're comparing yourself to me? Huh. You're not even good enough to be
I'll
my
make you eat those words!
These Japanese developers got into the home video game console industry on the exact same day, with Nintendo's Nintendo Entertainment System and Sega's SG-1000 coming out on July 15th, 1983. Though the NES remains a household name, Sega's later Sega Genesis still rings a bell for many, and that's partly because of Sonic the Hedgehog. Created to compete with Nintendo's Mario mascot, the high-speed platform game allowed the Genesis to briefly overtake the Super NES's sales in the early 1990s. Both franchises have games that have been hailed as some of the greatest ever, have spun off into other media, and earned billions of dollars to date. With a 2020 Sonic movie and plans for a Mario film a few years later, this is one competition to watch.
Meow?
Number 8, fans of the Star Wars prequel trilogy versus the haters. Okay, this one gets people really heated, Mojo-holics included.
Don't touch anything.
Considering its enormous pop culture influence since the late 70s, and its subsequent purchase by Disney in the early 2010s, another pop culture giant, there's no escaping Star Wars. Following Anakin Skywalker's transformation into Darth Vader, the prequel trilogy had a lot to live up to.
You seem a little on edge.
Not at all.
Whether it did so or not continues to be up for debate, even though the last one came out in 2005. While initial reviews were mixed, later opinions tended to be more positive, focusing on political themes while taking its intended audience into account, instead of bashing the acting and CGI. Whether you're one of the now adult fans that grew up with it, or a much older critic that longs for the original, the force is obviously strong either way. Number 7, Nikola Tesla versus Thomas Edison.
Thomas Edison was the greatest genius who ever lived.
Oh boy.
Can anyone name any of his inventions?
The light
The light bulb!
Here we leave the pop culture realm for a bit and delve into the lives of real-life men who lived during the 19th and 20th centuries. Often dubbed America's greatest inventor, Thomas Edison is known for inventing the electric light bulb, but he was also behind the phonograph and the motion picture camera, in addition to holding over 1,000 US patents. Meanwhile, Nikola Tesla, who was born in modern-day Croatia but later moved to the US, is most famous for his work with the modern alternating current electricity supply system.
What's conducting the electricity?
Our bodies, Mr. Angiero.
He also held over 270 patents globally. Both award-winning inventors have had awards, among many other things named after them. Both have also contributed greatly to science, business, engineering, and more. So, the battle between Team Tesla and Team Edison understandably burns on.
Today, the impossible becomes possible.
Number 6, Batman vs. Superman. Say what you will about Batman vs. Superman, but this fight has been raging for decades. As the most popular DC characters, it's understandable that fans pick a favorite. despite the fact that these two usually work together. Nonetheless, they have had their fair share of throwdowns, both physical and ideological.
If he wanted to, could burn the whole place down. There wouldn't be a damn thing we could do to stop it.
Most of the world doesn't share your opinion, Mr. Wayne.
Batman is fundamentally a man with skills, gadgets, and money, defined by a cynical, pragmatic approach to crime, whereas Superman has godlike powers and is an eternal optimist. The merits of each archetype can be debated ad nauseum, but the argument usually ends up in the same: who would win in a fight? When you're done with that debate, try the Goku vs. Superman rivalry on for size. Number 5. PC vs. console gaming. It's been a decade-long brawl between PlayStation and Xbox for home console gaming supremacy, since Sega bowed out and Nintendo shifted to family-oriented content.
I'm going back. I won't be of any help anyway, and I don't want to get hurt.
While we will get to the question of which console reigns supreme, right now we're concentrating on whether or not consoles can actually hack it. It's undeniable that PC gaming allows for greater performance and can be constantly upgraded to keep up with even the most demanding software. However, consoles provide a streamlined, user-friendly experience that requires minimal troubleshooting, and a lack of customization is a good thing for many people who want a game without constant hardware tweaking and driver updates. These are two very different beasts, but people love to pit them against each other.
Oh, great.
Number 4. iPhone versus Android.
We're so buried in our phones. Instead of giving someone a real smile, we send an emoji.
Chances are you've got a smartphone within arm's reach at this very moment. You might even be watching this video on one. Is it an iPhone or an Android smartphone? Apple users are among the most devoted customers in the world. The only thing that can rival their devotion is the disdain felt for them by Android users.
I may be able to get an iPhone without giving any money to Apple. I'll be living the dream.
While an iPhone certainly integrates seamlessly with the rest of your Apple devices in ways Android cannot, the wide variety of Android phones makes it easier for a consumer to find a smartphone that suits his or her needs and budget. The Samsung Galaxy was initially at the high end of that budget, but now Google's line of Pixel seems to be overtaking the position of the Android-running phone to rival the iPhone.
Goddamn phone. Give me the phone.
As soon as you answer my question.
Number 3. PlayStation versus Xbox.
This knife. It was hers. Now it is yours.
Despite the first PlayStation coming out in 1994, almost 7 years before the first Xbox, the latter Microsoft-owned company has certainly given the former Sony brand a run for its money on many occasions throughout the early 21st century.
Get ready. Here they come.
Though both have released multiple consoles and an online service, they've also tried to differentiate themselves and gain more fans by expanding. This has included handheld consoles and hardware for the PS, with various controllers and software for the Xbox. In 2013, things came to a head with the PS4 and Xbox One dropping within the same month. As technology advances quicker and quicker, things are bound to continue heating up between them and their fans, much like with any other major business competitors in different fields. Number 2. Star Wars versus Star Trek. Forget the Borg, forget the Sith. The biggest threat to the galaxy is this blood feud between the two biggest sci-fi franchises in geek history.
But it's not real. It's just a computer-generated fantasy.
This battle has been fought on every front and from every angle, from technological superiority, character development, the quality of the villains, and the variety of alien species, to the romantic subplots, the weapons, the spaceships, financial success, and the extent to which their respective universes have been developed.
Only Imperial stormtroopers are so precise.
It's a rather unique rivalry in that the two franchises grew out of separate media, Star Trek as a television series and Star Wars as films. With J.J. Abrams helming 21st century films for both franchises, perhaps peace is attainable. Pfft, just kidding.
Humor! I love it!
Which of these hills am I most likely to die on? I guess I've been involved in more than my fair share of Superman versus Batman arguments. I am a super stan, by the way. But mostly I'm just like, can't we all just get along? Star Wars and Star Trek both have their merits, don't they? Anyway, before we find out which rivalry and nerddom gets people the most worked up, let's check out some honorable mentions.
The Steampunk Pirate King. I knew him well, Sorrento.
We have a city to burn.
I look at myself as more of a postmodern impressionist fan. Please, speak!
いやー、むさ苦しい相撲部が一気に華やかになりましたね。
And it took me a long time, but I finally decided to choose Squirtle. No!
You were so busy grandstanding, you paid no attention to the cards I put into play.
But I thought they were all monster cards!
Not all.
What are you doing? What is this? Are you role-playing as a depressed man? It's not working.
They were investigating a lead on a possible chem weapons site at Grid 80.
Not quite at the end yet. Almost there though. Just be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Alright, back to business. Number 1, Marvel vs. DC.
Hey, Peter Parker. You got something for me?
This rivalry began with comic books, but over the decades it spilled into film, television, video games, toys, and more. Each of these prolific companies has taken the lead in a medium or two in the early 21st century. Marvel is winning on the big screen, while DC has firmly cornered the market on direct-to-video animated features.
Yes, we have.
As for television, both are making their mark with live-action and animated series. In the mid-90s, the two publishers actually came together in a 1996 crossover event, and in the form of a series of hybrid Marvel-DC characters published under the Amalgam imprint. Despite these displays of unity, fans cannot seem to stop themselves from declaring allegiance to one company or the other.
So is this a bad time to bring up my blood sugar?
So, yes, we did put Superman vs. Batman on the list, and I did say we weren't putting character rivalries, but it's more the Superman franchise versus the Batman franchise, you know what I mean? Anyway, if you want to keep the debate going, catch me on Twitter at Rebecca Brayton when we can talk about like Disney versus Pixar, or Chris versus Chris versus Chris versus Chris, or Tom versus Tom versus Tom. I don't know, there's a lot of them. Anyway, be sure to like and subscribe. Tell us in the comments what your favorite geek rivalry is, and be sure to watch this other video. Whew, did you get all that?